We live on YouTube. We're just gonna fast forward this intro. So we're reacting to. I'm not even gonna read the fucking title. All right, Fernando Relix told me we gotta react to this after we reacted to.
Yo, what's
So
up?
we're just gonna get into this. We're fast intro.
What makes hella stupid shit?
Um, Let me just say first, there's nothing wrong with the doing that. I understand that it's perfectly natural. It's just that I was having a really bad week and a terrible day today. And I was not in I wasn't in I just wasn't in the I wasn't in a good mental headspace to process that, seeing that, and I just hope that now every time that I think about my grandmother, or I see my grandmother, or I talk to my grandmother, that I'm not gonna think about it every single time, because I love my grandmother so much. And I don't want to lose my grandmother. I don't want to have to think about her doing that every time I talk to her.
What the?
So I went over her house today because she lives in Pasadena and she had a computer question. Go figure, right? And I said, of course I'll come over and help you with whatever. So I came over and I saw that her car was in the driveway, and I go over there all the time, so I just went in, not a big deal.
Boy.
And I didn't see her around. I called out. I said, Grandma. She wasn't there. So I just went over to the computer and I started seeing if I could figure out what was, the problem. And
I see what's going
a
on.
few minutes went by, and then I just heard it was sort of like a and a few months ago my grandmother tripped in the shower and she broke her hip and really hurt herself, and
That hip getting
I
worked on.
was the one who found her, and so I got really scared because I thought maybe my grandmother was in trouble. And so I ran up and I said, Grandma, are you okay? And I didn't hear anything. So I opened the door to her bedroom. And she was So I ran back out. I said, oh my God. And I ran out.
Bro.
And I keep thinking, the part that I can't stop thinking about is her face was like, she was like, I don't even want to, Okay. Hopefully one day this will be just a silly story that we all talk about. If I can't even talk about it. But I don't even know what to say. She's called me a couple times and I've just declined because I don't even know what to say. I don't want her to feel bad, but I guess it was my fault for walking in. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to react to this situation? And this is just this is not even the top third worst thing that's happened to me this whole week. I just, like I said, I just was not in a good place to receive this information.
The faces make it better, bro.
I hate my life.
Damn.
I would have fighted the other one, bro. I accidentally came. I am not gay.
Wait.
Which one?
The accidentally gay
What was it?
job interview. I don't know.
Hi everybody. I had a job interview today, and I came in my pants. during the interview. I have struggled my entire life with ADHD and anxiety and bipolar disorder, and I've spent so long trying to figure out how to manage my symptoms so that I can actually be a normal person on a day-to-day basis, and it seems like everything I do doesn't work. I was addicted to Xanax for so long, and it ruined my life, and
Type shit.
it just felt like everything I did somehow made it worse. And now the one thing that I thought worked clearly doesn't. Basically, I figured out at a very young age that if I was anxious and I was insecure, then the way that in the moment I could sort of calm myself down and make myself focus and make myself more confident was to make myself horny, basically. So,
What?
you know, thinking about...
Oh my god, bro. There's like one of the only people who that I make me laugh like this, bro. Yeah, yeah.
He has to make himself horny.
Like, yeah, I'm anxious as fuck. I'm on the stage about to graduate high school. Let me think about Violet Myers. Yeah.
Out something sexy to the point where
Oh,
I
yes,
would
it's
get
not.
physically aroused. So I would, you know, if I get a chubby or that sort of stuff. And most of the time it went fine. You know, it would actually work really well because what it does is it sort of makes it's sort of like a natural medication, because when you get horny, the chemicals that your brain releases are, you know, you have dopamine and adrenaline and those sorts of things.
Dopamine maxing.
To the medications that you would actually take for anxiety or ADHD or that sort of stuff.
You gotta be like,
So,
I'm gonna get this job to the
I figured I was just going to do that
interview.
and it would be fine, but
Oh, what?
I got to the interview.
Get this
and
job to the person.
I started having a panic attack, as usual, in my car, and I pulled out my phone and I started looking at porn, and whacking it, basically.
Nah, in the parking lot.
That's crazy. Hey, that's crazy.
Bro, no, I got a similar story. I'm gonna tell this on YouTube. I was not the one smacking my meat. I wasn't even fucking there. But my old squad leader, he was stationed in I'm not gonna say the base name. But he was stationed somewhere else. And there was one time where it was like a battalion formation somewhere, where they had to be at a battalion, or whatever his battalion was. And then they were chilling in this one room, and I think the cameras like were on. I forgot the exact thing, or they're looking throughout the window, and there's one staff sergeant, an E6 in the army, was in the car just smacking his shit. And then everyone like started looking. He's like, "Yo, what the fuck?" And everyone just like huddled around the window, just looking at him. And then he was still like whacking his shit for like maybe like 5 more minutes. And he looks up and he's like, "Oh shit!" And he like goes in there. He's like, "You motherfuckers better not tell anyone. I will fuck you up." And whacking his shit in a whole ass military base in the battalion parking lot is insane. That's baffles me. That's what this reminds me of right now.
And I guess that was my first mistake. I sort of got a head start before I went in. So I go in and it starts off okay. The receptionist is very nice. I'm waiting for the guy to come out who's going to interview me, and I start preparing my fantasy that I'm going to focus on through the interview. So it's good. For me, usually that's stuff like cucking and
no.
Well, I don't I don't need to get into it, but you know what I mean. Everybody has their little things that they like.
But he's a good actor. I'm pretty sure it's a satire.
Sorry, I'm a mess. I just have been crying all day since what happened this morning. So the guy comes out, and I have to kind of, because I don't want to stand up and then have a, boing thing happen.
Boing.
So I stand up and I say hello. I shake his hand, blah blah, and it starts going well. We make small talk, and we go into the interview room, and it starts fine. But then the first thing that happened that sort of made it go worse was that on the website they advertised the position as being fully remote, but then in the interview he said that actually I had to come in 3 times a week still, and I started to get. Normally I probably would have just said okay, whatever, but this I really didn't want to come in because, like I said, I have debilitating anxiety and social scrap.
Pat, you really want this job.
I looked for a remote position on purpose so that I would be able to be easier for me to work. So I wanted to confront him about this, and because my anxiety was getting worse and increasing, I had to sort of make I had to get more aroused, because it's like if that goes up, then this has to go up, right? So
what?
So I was thinking more about my fantasy, and then also I was there was a desk there, so I started kind of working myself. You know what I mean?
What?
I know that
bro was smacking his me in the interview.
Damn, that's crazy.
Like, yeah. Why the fuck did you give me this position?
When I'm explaining it right now, it sounds bad, but you have to understand that most of the time nobody would find out, right? And you also have to understand how difficult it is. I don't think most of you know how difficult it is to have anxiety and panic disorder and ADHD and probably autism. I don't even know. I have tons of stuff.
Weaponized autism right here.
So it's debilitating. So I try to do anything I can to make.
Oh, we got Antonio in the chat.
Feel better. And if this is what
shit.
In a capitalist system,
Antonio.
I do anything and anything to survive in capitalism. So yeah, I was under the table. Yeah.
Insane.
Under the table,
like smacking his.
Oh, that's some fucking crazy,
yeah, bro. Like he was like smacking his. He was like, yeah, I really want this job bad. Oh my god.
Says so. I asked him, you advertise the position online as being a remote position, but now you're saying that it's not. And he said, well, I don't know what we said online. Sometimes that stuff isn't accurate. So I said, whatever. and I moved on, because now I'm not even sure I want this job anymore. But maybe, you know, that's the type of thing where maybe we can figure it out later. And then he asked me about my last job, which obviously I got fired from, if you watch my recent videos. So I was trying to figure out a way that I got really nervous trying to figure out a way that I could say what happened, but also not, if he called my old boss and asked what happened, I didn't want to have lied, but also I want to explain it in a way that it doesn't sound that bad and seems, you know, reasonable, and hopefully makes him not want to call the people. So I think at this point, I don't know. I mean, I sort of was not aware exactly of. I was trying to kind of keep myself under control, but I was also I felt myself all of a sudden, it kind of snuck up on me. I felt myself kind of all of a sudden go over the point of no return. Right?
No.
And so I felt it happen.
You about busting up.
And I tried to pretend to have a coughing fit, you know, because I could.
Nah, bro was like, yeah, fuck.
Can try to act like nothing's happening, but on a certain level, you're gonna.
I don't think he act. That's an accident.
So I'm trying to go like, you know, and I must not have done a very good job, I guess, because afterwards he looked at me very strangely and he was like, "Is everything okay?" And then I just kind of broke down and I said, "No, it's not. It's not okay, because I know that it's not your fault, but nothing in my life is going right at all. And it feels like everything I do to try to make it better just makes it worse and ruins my life more. So no, it's not okay." And at this point, I knew that the interview was over and we were past the point of no return, and I started crying. And I stood up I said, "You know what, I gotta," or, you know, we talked a little bit for a formality, but then eventually I said, "Okay, I think all right, that's, you know," and I stood up, and there's a big, it was obvious what happened. I don't know what else I need to say. And I shook his hand because I didn't know what else to do. What am I supposed to do? I just shook his hand and
Bro got shake his head with nut on his head.
And I ran out so that before the receptionist could see me or anybody else in the office, but I'm sure they all saw me. And I just kept waiting in my car and cried all day. So that's my story.
No.
That's just the latest thing that's happened to me that has been totally horrible.
Horrible.
I just hope one day my life gets good. Because I can't do this anymore. I can't live like this.
Why my nephew deserves to be here with my car?
This is some crazy.
Bro, that's the best YouTube channel.
Some crazy fucking story. This one just posted some random shit.
I fucked my girl. I ain't racist just because I got slaves. My sister's actually my daughter. I mean, what?
Yeah.
I shot my waitress. I fed my ex her own dog. What the fuck? They call me high at mass. Wait, no. I said a slur at work. Oh no, I'm putting this one on.
Okay. I am not perfect. I am not perfect. And I've never said that I was. Many, many, many times I have said on this very channel that I am a work in progress, which means that I do things, I make mistakes, and then I learn from those mistakes, and I use those experiences to become better. Because as much as everybody else would probably like to pretend that they are perfect, as much as my friend group would probably like to pretend that they are all the reincarnation of Jesus Christ, they're not perfect either.
But what if I am?
And I make
What happened?
What if I am the reincarnation of Jesus Christ himself?
That'd be the biggest plot twist I've ever seen in my fucking life, and I've seen lots of plot twists in my life. If you're the reincarnation of Jesus Christ, then I'm Jason Love.
the mistake yesterday of assuming that they were aware of that. And I made the mistake of being myself and being comfortable enough to not feel like I constantly have to obsess over it. Not feeling like I have to constantly obsess over what am I saying? How am I saying it? You know, I'm always so in my own head about everything that I say. And whenever I feel like I can be comfortable enough to open up with somebody and just say whatever I'm thinking, that is something really special. And I'm so hard on myself. And every time I feel like I say something stupid in conversation, I beat myself up over it for days and days and days and days. So yesterday, I went to a brunch with a group of friends who are all white, by the way. And I, at one point in the conversation, the mimosas were flowing.
No.
And
Nah, I feel you, bro. When I be on the game and I'm like drunk, I be screaming the N word all the time. You know how it is. Oh, that wasn't satire. That me be truthful.
I didn't think that there was anybody who was keeping a log book of every single thing that everybody was saying. I didn't think a stenographer was there.
What's a stenographer?
And I don't want to get into specifically what I said. I don't want to get into specifically the word that I said because I don't think that's important. I think that
No, that's important. That's why I clicked the video.
The general idea that I made a mistake and I understand that I made a mistake and nobody wants to let me get away with it, or nobody wants to let me live. Nobody will let me live it down, right? Everybody is trying to. And what I don't understand is,
point that out.
I said I'm sorry. I said okay, I made a mistake. You're right. Fine, I won't say that anymore.
Saying I'm sorry is the key.
One word that I said can completely change who everybody's life. I'm lifetime friends with these people, and one single.
Okay, bro, they're definitely not lifetime friends. Me and Bruce be saying slurs to each other all the time. Me, Joseph, you, fucking Marvin, David. We'd be saying slurs to each other all the time. Not satire again.
The word that I said has completely changed their entire perception of me to the point where they don't want to talk to me anymore and they don't want to invite me to stuff anymore. One thing that I said when I was drunk.
I want to know what he said.
I really want to know, so I clicked the video.
And it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't obsessively keep track of all the things they say. I should have now, so that I would be able to reference it. But you would think that when you're friends with somebody, they know you well enough and they understand you well enough to sort of give you the benefit of the doubt, and not let any one thing that you say in any given moment change who they know you are. My friends know that I'm a good person. My friends know that my opinions, they've known me for years. So what are they trying to prove by acting like they're holier than thou about all of this stuff? And what are they trying to prove by, the only people who are seeing this transpire are me, the 5 people who are at brunch, and the restaurant and the waitress. But we're never gonna see those people again. So, again, I ask,
The waitress is
what are
insane.
you trying to prove by crucifying me over one thing that I said? One thing.
I think the word he said was the Wahlberg word. Maybe, or maybe he said Oh yeah, another person that I say slurs with all the time, Wahlberg. I was like, I want to see this real quick.
Yo, I'm gonna hop off. I gotta go get dinner.
All right,
I
bet.
am not
My
gay.
girl makes dinner.
I am straight.
I see that.
I'm straight. I like women only. Finally, everything is gonna be okay. Everything
later,
is
bro.
gonna be okay.
Later.
I'm gonna still be on the stream though.
Shut
I bet.
up.
Chat.
Just let me know.
Don't open your mouth and start saying things if you don't know what you're talking about. Please. I'm the Joker.
What the fuck?
Let's see what mayhem we can cause at Home Depot.
Bro, what the fuck?